All right, what's up, nerds? Welcome back to the Barflies podcast, episode 91. The back page this week, plenty to cover, plenty to talk about. We've already covered the Tillies this week, so we won't talk about them too much. We will talk some rugby league, though. Nothing that surprising happened this week, I'll say that much.
This was a bit of a round of spankings, if you will.
Yeah, I think pretty much everything that we thought was going to happen, happened.
Everyone got no games of, so the games are entertaining. There's a lot of high-scoring games here, but nothing that kind of, no edge of seat stuff.
No.
If we want to go, we'll go top to bottom. We'll do a bit of ladder analysis after. We'll do the same again, because I feel like we could do it. There's a lot to get into there.
Yep.
So let's start. Beginning of the week, Penrith coasting again against Manly. They're always winning this game. This is just, as far as a Thursday night game goes, it's not my favourite Thursday night one of all time.
No. Thursday night is generally the game that I will watch pretty much every week without fail.
Yeah, definitely.
I would argue it's probably the most watched game of the round, the Thursday night game.
Possibly. Yeah. Maybe Sunday Arvo. Sunday 4:00 is always a pretty good one.
Yeah. Look, pretty flaccid game, for lack of a better word.
Yeah. Manly made a good effort of it, but they were never going to beat Penrith, were they?
They're just sort of clinging on, Manly, now till the end of the season, I think.
Yeah. I think when we do our ladder analysis, you'll see they have to win all of their remaining games, but even then, I don't think it's going to be enough. I think you're going to need 32 competition points to come 8th.
Okay. Sure.
To lock in.
Sure. I just think, vibe-wise, they're not up to it. Manly are done.
No Tommy.
No Tommy hurts. Manly, and I'm not trying to agitate Manly fans right now.
Well, you'd never.
I would never do that. It's not me. It's not who I am. You know?
No.
It's not woven into the fibers of my soul. It's not what I'm about. But Manly have the same energy as like the Tigers did 5 years ago right now. And I'm not just saying that because of
that's ominous
signing half our side. But ever since they've sacked Des Hasler, their club has been an absolute shambles. I think he was honestly holding it together.
Yeah.
Because correct me if I'm wrong, were they not in shambles before he went back? And then he went back and like Tom and Jake came through and everything
and he fixed them a little bit.
Yeah.
And then, look, Manly is... And then there's reports that they could lose Ola Kawatu. I mean, it's just reports, but...
To the Tigers, which would be absolutely hilarious.
I don't know. Who knows with Manly?
It's like all their off-field stuff is just in an absolute shit show at the moment.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with that team. Obviously, no Tommy is a massive out. And they've got some really good players, but... I don't know. Their team's super young as well. I think you forget that. Like, think about all their outside backs. Very young. Apart from DCE, that team is pretty inexperienced. Like, even their forward pack is pretty inexperienced. Like, realistically, Josh Aloiai and Jakey would be their most experienced forwards out of their bench, and they don't have like a lot of experienced players there.
I think they just don't have a lot of good players there. Like, I think outside of like and I mean that with respect, but outside of like, it's like Manly's roster is sort of not as balanced as other rosters. It's like it's very top heavy with Tom, Jake.
Yeah, a lot of money tied up on that end.
Ola Kawatu, whatever.
Schuster on big money as well.
Yeah, and then the sort of the way the rest of the roster's filled out is either with inexperience or they just feel like they're lacking a bit of depth, I feel like they're lacking a bit of punch up front, obviously.
I think
they re-signed Matt Lodge, even though he's injured.
I think that season they had where Turbo and Garrick and co went ballistic has really set their expectation quite high for Manly. But realistically that year, there was a couple teams that just tore up like that.
Yeah.
And they themselves got absolutely punished that year. Anyway, but long story short, Manly's struggling a lot, especially the back end of this year with injuries. So we'll see how they go. But you can pretty much put a line through them. Next game was the Sharks-Titans game. Sharks didn't really get out of like third gear for this. They didn't even really... I thought they could have actually really put a lot more points on, but I thought they went kind of easy.
Good to see. I was a little bit worried about the Sharks. I'm glad they got up. I'm glad they got up this week. That's a game against the Titans can really sort of. I feel like it doesn't matter who you are. A game against the Titans can kind of sneak up on you. Like they could come out and just put 40 on you pretty easily.
Yeah. You don't know what you're going to
So
get.
to see the Sharks hold them to 6 points was probably the most impressive thing about this win for me, given
Backing
how
up
sort of flaky.
And they backed up against the Rabbitohs. That's 2 in a row after some bad form. Tell you what, talking about teams building last week, 2 wins, get another couple on the.
They have a good run.
Finals.
They have a good run. So
look, we'll do some ladder analysis.
Like you say, literally within 2 weeks, we're talking about them missing the 8, and now.
Oh, well, you said that, not me.
Well, sure, it was just the general chatter. They dropped from being pretty much a lock for the 4 to down to that sort of mid-table scramble, but 2 wins and they're back pushing the 4.
They're fine. They'll. There's not a chance they miss out, I reckon. They're always going to be there. The Titans, again, similar to Manly, a year of such promise for those teams, and it's kind of fell away. Although injuries provided, Foran injured, AJ Brimson might still be injured for the rest of the year. So I don't know what they're going to do with their team. I always thought the signing of Kieran Foran was a bit of a weird one for them, though. I know he's experienced and they want an experienced player, but like AJ's injuries, they've got Jaden Campbell. I don't know. It's a weird one.
Well, I think he's been good because he's brought Fafita into great form. He's really unlocked David Fafita.
Yeah,
this year,
he did. I guess so. I don't know. I've just never really.
I don't think they are where they are without him. Put it that way. I think the Titans are a lot lower on the table without Foran. I agree though. They've definitely got themselves in a pickle with the Jaden Campbell, AJ Brimson situation because I definitely think they're both fullbacks. I don't think AJ's a 6.
No.
So
anyway, regardless, headaches to had. Titans out also for this year.
But Tino re-signed, 10-year deal,
10 years,
1.2 million a season,
massive.
And I think Fafita's on $1 million a season for 3 years. So make good signs. Desi will be up there next year. I'd be excited.
Is Desi going up there next year?
What do you mean?
I must have missed that. I did not know that.
Desi's the Titans coach next year.
Huge. That's kind of perfect for them.
Yeah.
That's kind of the person you need.
Yeah.
Wow, massive. Brisbane Broncos, Parramatta Eels next game. Now, I thought this would be I thought this was almost going to be like a finals like.
So did I.
How wrong we were. The Eels just. I'm not sure whether the Eels had a bad game or the Broncos had an exceptional game, or maybe a little bit of both. But when I was watching it, I felt a bit bad for the Eels. You could tell that people like Gutherson were just trying to do absolutely everything to keep them in the game. But I mean, they really ran away with it. I mean, it was pretty close. It was honestly pretty close until the Broncos scored. Well, they just went try. Like scored 2 tries in 2 minutes there. And then as soon as that kind of happened, it was game over. They just ran away with it. And then Mitchell Moses is going to probably be out for the rest of the year as well. Does not bode well for Para, who are currently sitting outside the 8.
With a tough run.
And it just kind of makes you think, well, they got a bye, but it makes you think all those games at the start of the year they lost by 2 points or whatever it was have really come back to haunt them.
Yeah, I was going to almost say, going into this game, I really did think, because obviously we know that Parramatta have the ability in them to just sort of come out and beat a big side. But in Dylan Brown's absence, they've struggled a bit. He came back, and I thought they were kind of going to click into gear again, but they just haven't seemed to.
They also had no Moses during that time as well through Origin period.
Exactly. So, yeah, I think unfortunately you'll just about put a line through Parramatta now as well.
But again, Broncos, credit where credit's due.
Humming.
Yeah, they were sensational. They played really, really well. Rabbits, Dragons. Look, I actually thought the Dragons got off a little easy here. I thought this was going to be about 60-0. I thought the Rabbits were going to be due for it. The Rabbitohs played well for, honestly, I think about 20 minutes in this game, and they scored 26 points. So if they even put in a slightly better performance, I think they would have absolutely wiped the Dragons off the face of the earth.
Yeah.
Still waiting for them to click the Rabbitohs. I think who they got next week? They've got the Knights. That'll be a good game. They've got the Knights next week. I think that'll be.
Bye.
I think I kind of have the feeling they've got the Knights and then a bye and then the Roosters.
Yeah.
and they always play pretty well against the Roosters. I expect them to win next week, and then I expect them to really go on with it against the Roosters. After that, Sharks Warriors. Not Sharks. Tigers Warriors. I didn't watch this game. Did you?
No. It was on the same time as the Tilly, so.
Yeah, true. I mean, the Warriors just continue winning. That's what they're doing. They just keep taking those 2 points, staying in the 8. They're definitely the team. They deserve to be a top 4 team this year. They've been super consistent, and it's been awesome to see them playing well. We've probably talked about them every week and said the same thing, but credit where credit's due.
Yeah, no, Tigers played really well in this game. They played really good attacking footy. But yeah, like you say, credit to the Warriors. Held them out, no chance. Got the job done. Away game for them in New Zealand, but definitely would have helped. Definitely would have helped the Warriors this game, but yeah, they chug along. I think. Yeah, they're looking.
They got a
pretty
really
for
good
a top,
run home.
Really good, looking really good for a top 4 finish. So, yep.
I wish they got to play a home final. I thought that would have been such a good end of the year for them. Then we've also got the Roosters versus the Dolphins. I didn't watch this game personally. I've been a bit off the Dolphins recently. They've, at the start of the year, they were playing some really good footy, and I think they've just fallen off a little bit in the back end of this year. I know they've had a ton of injuries.
You're just often because they're playing hammer at centre, and it's
that is one thing. Well, no, not only that, but it's kind of affecting how good it is to watch. Because when he was playing fullback, he was electric. He was playing so well, line breaks, setting up tries, scoring tries, and they've also lost Jeremy Marshall-King. They've lost Tom Gilbert, who are part of their spine, and that's a pretty key component to your team. So they lost a lot of people throughout the year. They lost Sean O'Sullivan pretty much straight away too. So a bit of a I don't know, bit of an up and down year for them, but plenty of good moments.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Roosters are being a bit of a smoky at the moment. They're putting a bit of form together, just quietly, a bit of a run to the end of the year.
Yeah.
They're
one win outside the 8 now.
So when we do a bit of...
I thought the Dolphins were going to win this. I had sort of like, I don't know, any side coached by Wayne Bennett, I'm kind of always like, yep, they'll come good. And I think just the injuries are just too much. And losing someone like Jeremy Marshall-King, who has had probably his breakout season this year, I would say.
At the start of the year, he was the best hooker in the comp.
Yeah.
At the start of the year.
Yeah. So he's really solidified himself as like a legitimate 9.
Tom Gilbert started for Queensland at the start of the year as well in game 1 and got injured.
Yeah.
I think people forget that. So you got a starting Origin level player out.
Yeah.
Is no
joke.
No.
It'd be good to see how they go in the off-season if they manage to pick up a few more signings. I know Jake Averillo is going there next year.
Herbie Farnworth is going there.
Forgot about that. True. That's
Flegler.
a big signing.
Flegler's going.
Yeah, wow.
So
Herbie and Jake Averillo really give some oomph to their backline, don't they?
Bit of pace, bit of speed, bit of skill.
He's almost had a bit of a breakout year this year as well, Herbie Farnworth.
He was great. He was good last year. He's gotten even better this year.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Just sort of going up another level.
I would definitely agree with that. So look, good signs to the Dolphins. But yeah, the Roosters tracking nicely.
Yeah, really flying under the radar, the Roosters.
Yes.
Really flying under the radar.
Which could spell a bit of peril for the rest of the comp if they start putting it together.
Yeah.
The Storm versus the Raiders. Now, I'm going to let Cody take this one because he deserves it.
I actually wasn't going to say anything about this, but Xander messaged me about it last night. I was rightfully vindicated this week by both the Storm and the Raiders. I'd been really worried about the Raiders for probably close to 2 months. I'd say probably the 4 to 8 weeks before that. Honestly, you could say the whole year. Don't think they've won 13 plus all year, and they just really felt like they were wearing themselves down. And on the other hand, Melbourne felt like things were really starting to click. A coach like Craig Bellamy. I mean, any good rugby league side and any good rugby league coach will talk about the timing of your run on the way home. Penrith do it so well every year. It's what the good sides do. So with a club like Melbourne, you've always got to sort of keep an eye on them towards the tail end of the season, and they've managed to keep all their players on the park now for a few weeks, and they're playing some good footy. Nick Meaney was unreal.
He was.
And they just got Paps there waiting in the wings, mate. So good signs for Melbourne. Absolute thumping of the Raiders, which
It was coming.
It was coming, and I think that is a good sort of, I don't know what the word is, but like a good
Indicator.
indicator of where both sides are at coming into this final series. I think Melbourne, probably outside of Brisbane and Souths, are the only other team that I think on their day could trouble Penrith. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes, because obviously Penrith are just firming as the favourites as the weeks go on. But it's good to see the sides around Penrith and around that top four just sort of come together.
Yeah. Raiders. Maybe this loss isn't the worst thing ever. A little loss, resharpen the focus, figure out what you're doing.
Yeah.
Get into good work.
Yeah.
So who knows? Could be a blessing in disguise for them. They've still got a pretty good spot on the ladder, but their for and against is terrible from memory. So we'll get into that in a second. But yeah, great win for the Storm. Their key players playing well. The whole spine had great games. I don't think anyone in their spine had a bad game. The Knights versus the Dogs. Now, the Knights have scored, 108 points on the Bulldogs this year, and the Bulldogs have scored 6 on the Knights.
Yeah, wow.
So that's their matchup for the 2 games this year, 108-6.
Yeah, it's ugly.
And I was watching this game and I feel bad for the Bulldogs. I actually feel bad for them. They're just getting absolutely steamed. And you know what? Some of the tries were that soft as well. It was like watching the Tigers last year. Do you know what I mean?
Just a bit sad.
It's just not happy viewing.
Yeah.
That's not meant to be a drive-by, but
nah.
It's just you're watching it just going, this isn't fun for anyone.
No, honestly, it just is a bit sad.
Yeah, and then in this game, Jacob Preston hip drop, Jackson Hastings injured, which is unfortunate for the Knights because he's been playing, their whole spine as well has been playing great recently. So I don't know what's going to happen next week in their game with the Bunnies, but hopefully it's not too serious and he comes back, because Cody and I both think that it's great when Newcastle are in and about in Rugby League.
Yeah, well, I think KP is playing unreal at the moment. He's really playing, like you said, he's playing like $1 million player at the moment, and he is the best player in that Knights side.
For sure.
However, I think Jackson Hastings is more important to that side than Kalen Ponga. I think he has more. Obviously, he plays 7, so kind of goes without saying, but he has more impact on the team and the way that they play. So I really think that they're going to miss him.
Well, he's just solid. He's just a solid player.
Well, yeah, he exactly right. But obviously you got Lockie Miller there who can come in for KP, but Jackson Hastings is much trickier to replace. Interesting to see whether Adam Clune comes in or KP goes back
Adam
to 6.
Clune, the mighty Adam Clune, hey?
Much adored on this podcast.
I love Adam Clune.
Much adored.
People's chant.
But honestly, I don't know where the Knights are at if they can. Yeah, they've got a tough run home as well, so it'd be interesting to see how long Hastings is out for. I think NRL Physio early reports that it's potentially only 1 to 2 weeks. So fingers crossed for Newcastle and Jackson.
I reckon that's dribble just personally, but hey, who am I?
Oh, Xander's more of a physio than the NRL physio.
Yeah,
apparently.
mate. Yep. That's me. That's me.
Good stuff.
Okay, a bit of a ladder analysis. Look, 1 and 2, don't really have to look too much into that. Look, 3 and 4.
We're calling 1 and 2 a lock?
Yeah, I'm calling that a lock. Penrith have got the Cowboys and the Eels as their last 2 games. Pretty difficult. 2 teams vying for a spot in the 8. Although I feel like, I don't know. I feel like Penrith are going to be way too good for Parramatta. And then the Cowboys. The Cowboys could actually benefit greatly from the Panthers, because I kind of feel like if the Panthers have already locked up the competition, or if Brisbane lose a game, I feel like the Panthers are just going to rest everyone against the Cowboys in that last game. So we'll see what happens. But regardless, they get a home final, so I don't really think they'll be too fast. Then you've got the Warriors. Melbourne, they're pretty much a lock for the 3 and the 4, aren't they? Then you've got teams like, look at Cronulla's run home. So Cronulla, Canberra, Newcastle, and South all have like a couple aversing each other in some way or another. So I mean, and they're all on 30. So 30 points, 29, 28, And then North Queensland are on 28 points, also in ninth. Massive couple rounds of footy coming up. Rarely do you see, 5th to 11th vying for a spot in the 8. It doesn't really happen that often.
Well, think about how big the context of the Cowboys-Sharks game is. Because if the Cowboys get up against Cronulla, they will then go equal points with Cronulla, who are 5th.
And then if the Knights are to beat, if the Souths are to beat the Knights, they'll then also be level on points.
Yeah. Which could put 4 teams, if Canberra lose, on the same amount of points.
But then this is going to be a spicy last game, because last game of the year for Canberra and Cronulla, they're versing each other and could potentially, pending other results, either put each other out of the 8 or, secure a home final. So there's plenty doing. You've also got a team like the Roosters, who, as we were talking about before, just kind of going under the radar a little bit. A win against Para this week puts them in pretty good stead to try and sneak in. Then they've got the Tigers, respectfully, pretty good chance against them. Then you've got the Rabbitohs, which will be a big ask. So, I don't know. There's plenty.
But doable.
But doable.
I think you can argue that Souths are playing that much better than the Roosters at the moment.
No.
So I think they're all 3 winnable games. They've one win outside the 8. So it's probably, or they're 1 win. They're on 26 points. So, and Souths are on 28 in 8th position. So I think line through Para, and then probably the Roosters and North Queensland are the only other 2 teams vying for that last spot. But the other sides will keep them out if they just win their games.
Yeah.
So lot to play for.
I'm simply excited.
Match of the week, Cronulla, North Queensland.
Yeah, I think that's going to be. That's just a points fest whenever they two.
And this will be a good indication again to sort of see where both these 2 sides are at coming into the final 3 games of the season. But I think that's about it. The rest of the comp.
Everyone after the Roosters, you don't have to talk about.
They're done.
They're finished. Done. There's nothing to talk about.
Tigers have lost 10 of their last 10. I didn't realise it was that bad.
Jesus.
0-10 in the last 10 games.
Even the Dogs have won.
It's funny
that
that the Tigers are last, given we haven't played that bad this year.
They actually haven't. And yeah, they actually haven't been that. I swear the Dogs have been, because at the start of the year, the Dogs won a bunch of games. But I actually don't think I think the Dogs have easily been the worst team in the comp this year, especially with the expectation they've had and the roster they have. And look how much they've by far conceded the most points. By 100, they've conceded the most points. Worst for and against. Yeah, look, I don't think they've been that bad, but the Tigers, the Dogs have been way worse in my opinion. But
yeah,
maybe a couple, but it's not going to matter because there's no way they're making it. Should we talk a bit of EPL? It started last night.
Yep,
or 2 nights ago. Premier League. And you went past it.
Do I have it?
Yep. Just there.
Nice.
There we go. Premier League. Ange Postecoglou. First game in charge of Tottenham. 2-2 draw against Brentford. Look, not the ideal way for Ange to start off, but it's not a loss.
Well, they lost Harry Kane during the week, which doesn't help.
True, they did actually. Did the fee ever come out for how much that transfer was?
I think it's 100 mil.
For
plus
Kane?
Add-ons, yeah.
Wow, massive. Man City, Arsenal cruised. Brighton cruised. Newcastle flogged Villa. Liverpool and Chelsea 1-1. At the moment, it's kind of ironic that they end up drawing. They have been a bit of a tussle behind doors this week for a player from Brighton called Caicedo. There's talks of him, 110 million pounds.
Yeah.
Brighton will be absolutely laughing. I think they bought him for about 5. So that is an absolute joke.
Where did he come from?
I think he's from Ecuador.
Right.
And
an Ecuadorian club?
I'm not too sure of his previous club, but yeah, look, Brighton will be cheering. They've actually made a mozza in this transfer window, and McAllister and him. Chelsea and Liverpool 1-1. They both look like they had their chances in the highlights. Both interesting. Liverpool have signed an absolute ton of players in this window. I don't know if you've been all over that, but they've been signing left, right, and centre by the looks of it. They've also got a few players returning from injury in Jota and Diaz, which is a massive in for them. So I'm keen for them to play a little bit of electric footy maybe this year.
Yeah, it's weird. Dude, I don't play FIFA anymore, so I'm so not on top of the teams. But
they're not
this
coming
isn't showing
up.
out. That's
Yeah.
weird. Anyway.
But regardless, I'm keen. I think Liverpool games, as always, are going to be very entertaining to watch this year. The rest of them are kind of close draws and whatnot. Man City, I mean, that's what they do. They just win at the moment. And United, that's the only game that's not played so far, is United versus Wolves. This year will be an interesting year for the Premier League because you've got a lot of teams such as Newcastle and Brighton who finished really strong last year, had great seasons. And then they've also, obviously Newcastle have got a lot of backing because of their owners. Brighton have earned a lot of money from these transfers, so they're going to be able to reinvest back into these squads, the money they've created or earned, sorry. So it's going to be really interesting to see who they buy, how they strengthen, because, I just want to see. It's good to see teams that are not typical top 4 teams doing well. I hope that continues. But yeah, your typical top stronghold, top 6 teams, I think it's going to be super, super competitive this year. I can't see Tottenham cracking the 4, although I'd love them to with Ange's coach. I can definitely see City, Arsenal being there. But really, United, who knows what they're going to be like this year. I think they could be good without a bunch of injuries, but who knows? And then Chelsea, Liverpool, we'll see. We shall see. Chelsea, again, who knows? They got a new manager, a ton of new players. You just don't know.
The Reece James, Poch era starts.
Well, Reece James injured straight away.
Did he?
Pretty sure he got injured. Yeah.
Right, that sucks.
So, standard. But yeah, that's about it. As far as transfer market activity goes, talks Neymar is going to the Saudi League. That just sucks. Why are these gun players? Like, Neymar shouldn't be going to the Saudi League.
No.
I know he's going to earn,
stupid
probably
money.
$300 million or something stupid. But look, it just seems a bit unnecessary, to be fair. He's still got good footy in him. I'd love to see him play in the Prem. Maybe not in, I don't know what team he would fit into, but it would be awesome to see him play.
It would just be good to see him go back to Barca, just still play competitive football for another few years.
Playing at a high level.
Is he going to get to the point with so many players in the Saudi League that it actually becomes like a proper league?
No. Because it's not sustainable to pay the players this much. Like, how can you continue this for the next, 20-odd years or so to build it? It's not sustainable.
Yeah.
It's not going to work, I don't think. That's all I've got. Oh, who else is going? Mbappe also developed. You know how Mbappe was supposed to leave? Apparently he's rejoined the squad because he was like in this separate squad training and stuff and he wasn't with the team. But they've now changed it so he started playing with the team.
Okay.
So, but something must be afoot or something's wrong behind closed doors there.
Yeah.
Because if you've got Messi, Mbappe and Neymar and you let them all leave, what's going on? And you're paying them that much money and that can't even make them want to stay.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah.
Because I think they're just, there's something's up. Something's not right.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't know. I didn't like that Neymar went there originally at all. And now that he's there and it's kind of like, you kind of almost think like what could have been with his career.
I know.
The levels he could have reached, but instead he went to PSG. So, yeah. Silly stuff. Anyway, that's all I've got for you today. Anything you want to add?
No, there's not much else on at the moment.
No?
It's kind of off season.
It's kind of off season. I'm just frothing for the NBA to start. I simply cannot wait. I cannot wait for the NBA to kick off. Or tip off, I should say. Look, that's all I've got. That's all Cody's got. Take care. That's Backpage, episode 6, 7.
Well, it's just episode 91 now. We're just intertwining it with our other.
There we go. Episode 91. We'll see you guys later.
Bye.
Take care.